As a teenager, Bobby Bledsoe chose life on the rugged streets of New Jersey over his violent and dysfunctional family.
Sometimes when you argued, you would duck because dishes would come flying at you. So, there was no normal. There was no, hey, why don't we have the white picket fence and that kind of stuff. So my dad was an alcoholic. I used to smoke pot with my dad. I used to drink with my dad. Mom was a workaholic. She worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week to try to hold everything together. So it was completely dysfunctional.
When he was 16, Bobby found the family he was looking for in a gang.
We all had similar families, man. We all had messed up lives. And we were just drawn to each other, looking for love, I would maybe say. We started selling, crack cocaine in some of the projects and some of the apartments, in some hotels. And selling drugs led to trying a little bit of drugs. I got locked up for a strong-arm robbery that we committed in Philly. I had got to the point where, we just didn't care about life. So we would just go around doing strong-arm robberies. And even, we used to robbing purses, just gang activities, just robbing people to have money for your drugs, to buy your drugs, to sell your drugs.
Bobby served every day of a 19-month sentence. He even incited a riot while behind bars. When he was released, he went right back to the only life he knew.
I had to get high or I got sick, mentally, physically. It was such an addiction that I remember I would sit there and just lock myself in bedrooms and smoke crack cocaine for days at a time. I used to go to bed with a knife under my pillow with my door propped up by a chair. And every time I would hear a creak, I thought somebody was coming to get me. I had no hope. The lifestyle I was running, I just felt like, I was either going to be dead or in prison the rest of my life.
Friends finally convinced Bobby to go to rehab. He met a man there who told him about Jesus.
When you looked at this guy, he's the kind of guy you want to walk on the other side of the street. But when he smiled, he had a glow about him. He looked at me and, something along the lines of, you need Jesus in your life. And I realized it.
Bobby knew he needed God, yet he thought he needed drugs more. Once he was back on the streets, he continued his criminal lifestyle.
A couple days later, getting high again. Still knew God was real, but I just wasn't ready to give it up. Here I am out of a rehab, back at my mom's house, selling, trying to get high, doing all my drugs, stealing my mom's DVD players and selling them. I had got that far down where the drugs ruled my life, where I even took my mom's debit machine, went and emptied her bank account one time to have money to do drugs.
Bobby went back to rehab again, but was quickly kicked out for selling heroin inside the facility.
When I first started doing drugs, or when I first started, running with the girls, and when I started doing these things, I enjoyed it. But once you get into it and you get caught up in it, it's like something that takes hold of your life. It consumes you. It was my God.
Homeless and broke, he called his mom, who had become a Christian. He asked for one more chance to get his life together. She let him come home, but his drug use continued.
And one day I was getting high in my bedroom, and underneath my bedroom was the washer and dryer in the basement, and I heard my mom downstairs praying in the spirit. So she comes up and she looks right into the door and she points her finger. She says, "Bobby, the Lord spoke to me. She said, you are done getting high." I said, "Okay, Mom." I said, "Oh, I know."
He went to church with his mother and heard a message that changed his life.
And he said, "Is anybody ready for a change?" Something along that. Anybody want Jesus? And I ran to that altar, threw myself at that altar, and I said, "God, if you're real, take this addiction from me. God, if you are who you are, help me. Please forgive me my sin." And right then and there, like I never felt before, I felt the weight of the world being lifted off my shoulders. And I felt like as the scales came off my eyes, and I really felt free. And instantaneously, I was delivered of crack cocaine, heroin.
Bobby has never gone back to his old ways.
When God comes into your life, you see he's the light of the world. He's the truth. He's the life. When Jesus comes into your life, everything about you changes. The way you perceive life, the way you see life, the way you act, everything you do.
As Bobby reflects on his journey to freedom, he sees how the prayers of his mother were with him along the way.
Don't give up praying for your children. You see, my mom prayed for me for 13 years. And she prayed, she said, "I'm not gonna lose my life until my son is saved." And she prayed and lamented and cried and fasted and prayed for me.
Today, Bobby is married and has 2 beautiful children. He serves as a youth pastor, and every week he tells young people about Jesus.
God never gives up chasing. God never gives up coming after you. God is always pursuing you. God's always getting you. That's my son. That's my child. He never stopped. He never stopped pursuing me. And God finally, the day that I decided to give my life to him, he took me in.